Welcome back everyone. My name is Sagar and in this video we will be learning about access modifiers in Java. So what do you mean by access modifier? So you can just consider it is something using which we can just modify the access of some another thing. And if we are talking about Java, so there are some particular keywords. There are 4 keywords using which we can just modify or specify the access of some particular thing. And that can be our functions, that can be our variables, our fields, or even our classes. So what are these 4 keywords? Let me just tell you, they are here. So public, protected, default, and private. So these are the 4 access modifiers in Java. And let me just tell you, you were already using these access modifiers from our very first lecture, and this is here. So this public is an access modifier, and this class is public. And in very brief, that means this class is accessible everywhere. That means inside this module, inside this package, and also outside of this package. So we can just access this lecture 28 everywhere. Okay, and this main method also have this public modifier, and that means this main method is also accessible everywhere when we are using this lecture 28 class. Okay, and let me also tell you another example. In our lecture 25 we have this human class, and that is here this class, and it have no access modifier, and that means it is here by default. So now this class has a default modifier, and that means we can just use this class inside of our package, but not outside of our package. Okay, and we also have another modifiers like this protected and this private. So we will learn about them. But first of all, why do we need this access modifier? So as you can see in our human class, so there are some particular fields that we want to access, and we can just modify the access of these fields. There can be many cases where we don't want to access everything from some class. Suppose you are a human and everyone can just call your name. So your name should be a public modifier, right? So your name should have a public modifier so that everyone can just access your name. But suppose your bank details. So do you want everyone to just access your bank details? No, you don't want it. You should have it private. You should keep it private or maybe protected. So if something is private, now that means that thing is particularly only for you, and if it is protected, then that means your children or your relatives can also view that thing. So like you can also see here, so here is the name of this human, and that have a no modifier, so that means it is also default here. And suppose I am writing some more things here. So suppose I am writing here password, so string password, and it should be now private. So private to only this human. Okay, so when I'm creating a human object, so that means only this human can access its private password. Okay, and after that we can also have some another thing protected. Suppose what can be the protected thing? Suppose Aadhaar card number. Okay, so this can be a protected thing, right? So now you know why we need these access modifiers, and let us just now understand all of them. So one is default, public, private, and protected. So let me just see. So first of all, we have a public. So public means everything is public here. So we can just access the same thing inside our class. We can access it with the same package. We can access it in the subclasses of the same package and also from the different package. So we can just use it everywhere. If anything is public, so it is accessible everywhere in that particular package and also in another packages. So let me just show you an example. So this class is now a public class. And if I want to use this lecture 28 somewhere else, so what I can do is I can just create an object of lecture 28. So lecture 28, and I will say it as this. So now you can see there is no error, and I can just use this lecture. So this is the benefit of public. You can just use it everywhere. And after that we have here protected. So what is protected? So if anything is protected, then that means we can just use it within the class. So let me just create here something protected. So I am creating here a protected class. So protected class, let me just name here my class, and let me also define here some properties. Suppose I have a number here. So this is now a protected, and I can just use it here. So my class, and it should be also static because this function is static. So we will learn about what is this static thing. So this should be static, and now I can access it. My class equal to new my class. So you can just see this thing. If it is private, if it is protected, then I can just use this thing here. So I'm creating this class as protected and also this variable. So I can just use this variable inside everywhere. Suppose I am creating constructor here. So num equal to 1. So that means you can just see I'm using this num everywhere inside of this class, and after that we can just use it also within the same package. So if I am creating this, let me just take it out here, and this should be not protected now and also not static. So if I'm creating a protected variable here, so that means I can use this variable everywhere inside of this particular module. So module means this package. So let me just call it here. So I should create an object of my class. My class, and now let me just access this. So you can just see I can access this number here, and I can also modify it. So I can just use this protected inside of this whole package. But as now you know that this is a protected thing and this is a default thing. So that means if something is default, so I cannot access it outside of our package. So if I am creating here another package, so new package, suppose I am writing here another package, and I am creating a class here, another class. So let me write here main method. So I can just access every lecture that I am writing here. So lecture 28. So this is outside of our main package. So you can see I am creating another package, and my main package is this com.sagar, and inside here I have 28 lectures total, and I can just access any lecture here. So I can just do this thing, but I cannot access this class because this is here default, and if something is default, as you can see, it is not accessible in another packages. So that means this my class is not accessible this in this another class. So let me just try my class, and it is not accessible. As you can also see, com.saga.my class is not public and cannot be accessed from outside package. So that is the benefit of using this access modifier. So also let me just create a protected field inside of my public class. So I am removing this, and I am creating here a protected thing, protected int number. So this number, so this class is first of all public. That means I can just use this class in my another class, right? But now this variable, this number is a protected thing inside my public class. So that means I cannot access this number from outside of my package. So if I'm trying to do so, so lecture 28 dot, so I cannot access this number here. So you can see there is a number inside of our lecture 28, but I cannot access it here. So you can just see this is showing me an error, that is number has protected access in lecture 28. So if I am making it here this default, so that means I can still not access it, because here you can see if anything is default, then that means I cannot access it in another packages. And if I'm creating it as public, so public, so now this number is public and now I can access it in my another package. Okay, so I hope now you understand this thing, what is this public. And after that we also learned about what is this protected. So don't worry about subclasses. So subclasses mean there is a children class of any class. So suppose for an example, if we have an animal class, so animal is a species, and it have a multiple types. So dog is also animal, cat is also animal. So this dog and cat should be also classes, and they should inherit the property of animal. So don't worry, we will just learn about that thing in detail in our inheritance video. So you just have to remember this table, and it is a very important thing to know. So your protected thing is not accessible in another packages, as we just saw here. So we cannot access this protected number inside of this, but now it is public, so I can just access it here. So let me just remove this now. So after that we have here default. So you already saw this thing, that if we are creating here a default number, so I can still not access it inside of this class. So if I am creating here a lecture 28 object, so I am trying to access this lecture 28 dot, so there is no number, and I cannot access it here. This is because it is not public, and I can just access this number outside of anywhere inside this particular package. So in my com.sagar package, I can access it everywhere. So let me just create here object of lecture 28. So I can just access it here. So lecture 28 dot. So you can just see I'm using this number. Let me just modify it. So I am accessing this number inside my lecture 25, which is in the same package. But if my class is in another package, then that means I cannot use it. And that is the benefit of default. So this was default modifier, that we can access it inside of our class, that is obvious, and we can also access it within the same package. But I cannot access any default thing within my subclass. Subclass means the children class, and after that also in another package. So remember that thing, there is a difference, there is a very big difference between a subclass and an inner class. So if I want to create an inner class, so what I will do, so I can just create a class here. So class my inner class, and something like this. So this class can be now protected also and also private. So if I am creating an inner class, so that means there I can define whether a class can be private or protected. And if you are just creating any class, then that should not be private or protected, because there will be no use now. So now this class is inside of this lecture 28 class, and that means this is now inner class, and that doesn't mean it is a subclass. So subclass and inner class have a difference. Even one of my Java teachers in college don't know about that thing. So this is a thing that you should know. So this is inner class, and after that we cannot access this default inside of our children classes, okay, and also that is obvious, we cannot access it in another packages also. So there you can see our access is decreasing as we are going down. So first of all, we have this public modifier, and this public modifier let us access the thing inside everywhere. So either they can be in the same package or also in the another packages. So after that, we can just reduce the visibility by one step, and then we can use our protected. So if something is protected, then we can just use it everywhere inside of same package. But if we are talking about another packages, then we cannot use it. So that is the benefit of protected. And after that, we can also again reduce the visibility by one step, and then we can use default keyword. So in default, we can just use the same thing in any class within the same package, but not in the subclass, and that is obvious, we cannot access it in another packages. And after this default, we can just reduce the visibility again by one step, and then we have protected. So this is the most restricted one. So if something is private, then that means we can only access that thing inside of the same class, and after that not even in the same package and not in the subclasses, and also there is no chance of accessing it in another packages. So that's it. Let me just show you example of private thing. So if I'm creating a private class, this my class, so now this class is only accessible inside this lecture 28, and not even in this lecture 25. So if I'm trying to access this, so my class, so I cannot access it. And if I'm creating it public, so I cannot create it public, right? So this is here default, and let me just now access it dot, and you can see there we can see our my class, and after that I can just create the object of this my class. So my class equal to new and lecture 28 dot my class and constructor call. I should not do this. Okay, what it is saying, okay, I should make it a static, and this should resolve now. Okay, now you can see we are creating an object of my access my class, and that is there present in inner class of our lecture 28. So that means I can just access it here. So this is your default, and after that if it is private, then I cannot access it. So if it is private and also static, then still I cannot access it. Here you will see an error, okay, because this is private. Okay, if we have a private thing, then that means we cannot access it inside of our same package. So if I have something here, so if it is default and I have here private value, so that means I cannot access it here. So I'm creating object of my class, and inside this my class dot, so there is no variable here. So if it is not private, then I can use it here. So dot, and now you can see I can just access this value here. So if I am creating it protected, so let me just know in the comment that whether this is accessible or not, and let me just check here. So you can just see it is accessible, and that is because this protected is accessible inside the same package, and this is here the same package. So you can just see this is the same package. This lecture 28 is present in the com.sagar package, and this is also the same package. So that's why we can just access it. So I hope now you understand this table, and this is a very simple thing. You just have to reduce the visibility by one step. So the best one is public, and after that we can have protected, then default, and the most restricted one is private. And there is also one cool table that I just found on the internet, so you can just consider this thing. So this is the scope of our default. Then that means if we have something default, then inside our same package, so this is our one package, so I can just access everything inside of our same package if it is default, and I cannot access a default thing outside of our package. So this circle thing is our package, and outside of this package I cannot access my default thing, and I can access everywhere this public thing. Okay, so after public we have this default, and after default we have this thing. So there is one class, and inside one class I can access only this private thing. So if anything is private, then I can only access it inside the same class, and if it is protected, then we can access it in the same class, but also in the children class of the same package, and also in the children class of another packages. Okay, so just remember that thing. This is a very cool thing, and it is a very clear understandable thing. So a protected thing can be accessible inside the same class and also in the children classes, okay, and these are subclasses. And private thing is restricted to only one class, and default is only to one package, and public is everywhere accessible. So that is it about today, everyone. And if you like this video, if you understand this concept, then do subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching.